Hey guys, so in the last video we created our error filter as well as our logging interceptor. So right now I think we should start using our error filter. So in our idea service we should start throwing the appropriate errors. Now if we start the server, start dev, you'll notice that we let's go to this method, the read method. So if we just get everything, we have an array of no items because currently our database is empty. But if we go to another endpoint, it returns us nothing instead of something useful like a not found error. So if we go into our read, it just changes this up a little bit. So we're gonna instead store the idea into a variable and check if it exists first. So idea, and if it doesn't, we're just gonna throw a new HTTP exception, which takes two parameters, message, not found, and the status code, which you can put in 404, but I'm going to be using the HTTP status enum of not found, and of course we still need to return the idea if it is found. So, do do do, and and there we go. We get our not found error with the status code of 404 and an actual status code of 404. So the browser will know correctly what status it is. Now we just need to apply this to all the other service methods. So idea likewise is gonna be, we're gonna find the idea first. Await this dot idea repository dot find one file one where ID. Oops. Do the check. What is it? Idea throw new HTTP exception not found and dot not found. Nope, not found. There we go. Let's see, and then I believe you could just pass in. No, I'm just gonna do that, and then we could return the idea uh, as usual, and then finally the destroy method, which we have to do the same thing. So const idea. I'm gonna just copy and paste this really quick. There we go. And now that we have access to the idea untampered, we could actually return an idea. So it's a little more useful when we get back. So if we just go in here, this is not found. We do a put, also not found. And if we do a delete, we also get a not found. So let's get rid of this ID really quick. And let's add in some data just so we have something to work with. Idea description is fine. There we go. Alright, so with that out of the way, we're gonna work on creating another shared component thing, whatever you want to call it, and which also has to do with with sending appropriate errors. And we're gonna work on validation. So let's get rid of everything really quick. So I'm gonna kill the server. We're gonna need two packages to install. So we're gonna yarn add. One is called class transformer, and the other one is called class validator. And let that install. Okay. So let's see. Now we just need to make a file, and it's going to be in source shared, and the name is going to be validation.pipe.ts. Let's just open up this really quick, and let's get started. So first we need it to be injectable, which comes from NestJS common export class validation pipe, and it's gonna implement the pipe transform. Okay, which needs the method transform, and let's see. This transform method needs it takes in two values. Value, which is what is being sent in, and metadata. Argument metadata. And this is all we need for the validation pipe to be used. Of course, we're going to get back to this. But what the validation pipe is meant to do is to check our data transfer object, which is here. So let's go back to our services. So every time we're accepting data, it checks if it's a valid data type. So if it'll check if it's in the form of an idea data transfer object, which of course looks like this. But to make this a little more useful, we need to change this from an interface to a class, which is pretty simple. We just do that. And that allows us to use the package that we just installed, which is called class Validator. And luckily we're in TypeScript, so we can just use the decorators is string and is string. So these two properties are of both type string, but the decorator is going to allow us to check the incoming object if it's the correct data type. I believe that's all we need to change on this file. And then in our validation pipe, let's add two helper methods just to make things a little easier for us. So we need the method to validate, which is const types equals. Oh, I could also mention that most of this just comes straight from the documentation for NestJS. If we go to pipes and where's the validation pipe? Here we go. And this is using I'm just going to copy and paste this. And save. All right. So let's quickly go over this. Argument meta type. I actually would like to put this here. Meta type from metadata, which is here. Metadata, and this is going to be any. And so yeah, so let's quickly go over this. The to validate checks if the type is of any of these native JavaScript types, and it'll return the validation of it. So if the value is the correct type, it'll do all the right stuff. The object will check the meta type of the object, and the error will do all this. Now, I have changed up my personal validation just a little bit. First, out of personal preference, I'm going to use exception here, p statuses dot bad request, and I believe I just called this validation failed, and then yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna add in a another what's this called, method, and we're gonna call it format errors. Mostly because if validation fails, I think it would be very helpful to have the errors display, or which fields are necessary to the user. So we're just gonna do errors of type any in an array, and we're just gonna return errors.map error. Let's see. Let's open this up. We're gonna use the for in loop property in error.constraints, and then return error.constraints of the type property. This is because the property is going to be a string typed argument. However, it's going to change depending on the value that is the error. And then this part will return an array of strings, which we'll just join by a comma to create one string. And then in the validation transform, I believe I just added it up here somewhere. Let's see. If errors type 0, validation failed. This has to be a template string actually. And we're just gonna do this. So this dot format errors, and this errors is the one that's coming from the validate function. All right. That looks good. And then finally, I have another function called isEmpty. I'll explain this really quick after I type it out. So just do another for in loop property in object, or actually I could just do a what was this thing called? This was called a object.keys of object. I'm going to change this to value to make things a little more clear. .ling and return false. Otherwise, return true. Okay, and the reason why I added the isEmpty is because in our idea service, you'll notice that this data here for the update method is a partial of idea. However, the catch is an empty object is technically a partial of an idea. So we want to make sure that we catch the emptiness and return an error for that. So in here, I think we just do it at the top, right? If let's see, value is instance of object, and this dot is empty object. Oops, not object, value. Just gonna throw a new exception. And this one's just called validation failed, no body submitted. And we're going to be using the same status codes, which is bad request. Okay. There's our validation pipe. Now we just need to use it. And that is going to be put into, where did it put into? I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I think in the module in here. Validation pipe. Yeah, I believe so. Let me just check really quick. Pipe. Actually, I don't think we need it in the module. Let's just try add it to here. So we just do at oh no, not our service, our controller. Sorry. Go in here and put it in the data DTO. So here, use pipes, and this is gonna be a new validation pipe coming from ours, which is this one, and we also need to put it into update idea. So uses pipes, new validation pipe. Let's make sure that there's a dot here, or dot. Yeah. All right, let's test it out. Yarn start dev. I believe that was correct. I think I was supposed to put it somewhere else. But yeah, let's go to ideas. That looks good. So let's post something with a malformed data. So this is missing the description tag, and we should get an error back. So there it is. Validation failed, description must be a string. And that's because our description is missing. And then if we go into an ID, we'll get this. And if we do a put, let's just change this to ID2. I should probably change that. I'll fix that in a bit. But if we do a get, it is indeed updated. But if we do an empty object, we should get the isEmpty, which is no body submitted. So our validation is correct. Let's go into our service and fix that little bug with our update method. Let's make this a let, and just make sure that we requery the database to find the updated thing. Where ID. So if we do another put, this time we're gonna change the description. Updated. Send. And there we go. We get the updated thing back. Okay. And then there's one last thing that I would like to do. I think in the controller is a good place to do it, but we're gonna actually do not this. Private logger equals to new logger. And the context is just going to be idea controller. But whenever we get data coming in, I think it would be a good idea to display it in the logs. So just do this dot logger dot log. we're just gonna do a JSON.stringify of the data, and we're gonna do that on the update as well. .log .stringify .data. Oops. Okay. And let's just use our database really quick. So update again, send, and we have in our logs right here our body of data. Yep. So we have information for the server coming out. If anyone looks at this, we also have valid errors coming through the client side of the API, like this. So we have a perfect amount of information coming from both sides. So let's close these things out. Do a quick commit. Git add everything. Git commit added validation and login. And I will see you next time when we're gonna expand our application. I think we're gonna tackle authentication and users, since users is a big part, and I don't think I could expand the data model without users. So we're gonna do that next. I'll see you guys next time.